Imagine this situation. A Gen Z employee messages their manager on Slack at 6:01 p.m. saying, "Hey, I'll finish this tomorrow." A millennial coworker asks for feedback on the same project. A Gen X manager replies with just one sentence, "Just get it done." And the boomer director walks by and says, "When I was your age, we stayed till midnight." Four people, same office, four completely different ideas of what work is supposed to be. And this is exactly why generational conflict happens in modern workplaces. For the first time in history, four generations are working side by side. Baby boomers, Generation X, Millennials, Generation Z. But here's the psychological truth most people miss. People don't just disagree because they are stubborn. They disagree because their brains were shaped by different worlds. The economy they grew up in, the technology they used, the fears and opportunities around them. All of these shaped how they think about work, authority, success, and security. Let's start with the generation that built the traditional workplace. 1. Baby boomers. Work as identity. Born roughly between 1946 and 1964. Boomers entered the workforce in a very different world. At that time, jobs were stable. Companies offered long-term careers. Loyalty was rewarded. Promotions came slowly but predictably. Many people stayed in one company for 30 or 40 years. Psychologically, this shaped a powerful belief. Work equals security. So boomers often see work as more than a job. It becomes a major part of personal identity. That's why many boomers believe hard work proves character. Long hours show commitment. Respect for hierarchy is important. Experience matters more than speed. From their perspective, success is about earning your place over time. So when they see younger employees asking for flexibility or quick promotions, their instinctive reaction is often, why are they trying to skip the process? Not because they are unfair, but because their entire career rewarded patience and loyalty. Chapter 2. Generation X. Work as survival. Born roughly between 1965 and 1980, Gen X grew up during a much more uncertain period. They witnessed corporate downsizing, economic recessions, the early collapse of lifetime employment. Many watched their parents lose stable jobs. Psychologically, this created a different mindset. Don't rely on companies. Rely on yourself. Gen X developed a reputation for being independent and pragmatic. They tend to believe results matter more than appearances. Micromanagement is unnecessary. Efficiency is better than hierarchy. That's why Gen X managers often communicate very directly. You might send them a long explanation, and they reply with just, "Looks good." To them, this isn't rude. It's simply efficient communication. But to younger generations who expect feedback and collaboration, this can feel cold or dismissive. Chapter 3. Millennials. Work as meaning. Born roughly between 1981 and 1996, millennials entered adulthood during one of the most disruptive economic periods. Many started their careers around the 2008 financial crisis. Jobs disappeared. Industries collapsed. Traditional career paths suddenly felt fragile. At the same time, the internet was transforming everything. New companies appeared overnight. Startups became global brands. Innovation replaced stability. Psychologically, millennials adapted by asking a new question about work. If stability isn't guaranteed, what actually makes this job worth it? That's why millennials tend to value purpose, collaboration, continuous feedback, personal growth. They are also the generation that pushed companies toward flexible work culture, team-based environments, open communication with leadership. But older generations sometimes misinterpret this. When millennials ask for feedback or meaning, it may sound like they need constant reassurance. In reality, they're simply trying to make sense of a workplace that no longer guarantees long-term stability. 4. Generation Z. Work as balance. Born roughly between 1997 and 2012, Gen Z is the first generation that grew up fully digital. smartphones, social media, constant information. But they also grew up during a time of global uncertainty. Many of them experienced economic instability, climate anxiety, the COVID pandemic during critical education or early career years. So psychologically, Gen Z entered the workforce with a very different mindset. Instead of asking, "How do I climb the corporate ladder?" they often ask, "How do I build a life that doesn't destroy my mental health?" That's why Gen Z values flexible schedules, clear boundaries between work and life, authentic leadership, mental health awareness. They are also far more comfortable questioning authority, not because they are rebellious, but because the internet trained them to question everything. To older coworkers, this can feel like disrespect, but to Gen Z, it simply feels like normal communication. Why generational conflict happens. So when conflict appears at work, it's rarely about laziness or entitlement. It's about psychology shaped by history. Boomers learned that loyalty creates security. Gen X learned that independence creates security. Millennials learned that purpose creates motivation. Gen Z learned that balance protects mental health. Each generation is responding to the world they grew up in. And when these beliefs collide inside one workplace, misunderstandings are almost inevitable. How different generations can work better together. But these differences are not weaknesses. In fact, the most successful organizations use them as complementary strengths. Boomers bring experience and long-term thinking. Gen X brings independence and efficiency. Millennials bring collaboration and innovation. Gen Z brings adaptability and fresh perspectives. Psychologically, diverse teams work best when people understand the motivations behind behaviors, not just the behaviors themselves. Because once you understand why someone thinks differently, conflict often turns into cooperation. At the end of the day, every generation is trying to solve the same problem: how to build a stable, meaningful life through work. They just learned different strategies from the worlds they grew up in. And the workplaces that succeed in the future won't be the ones that force everyone to think the same way. They'll be the ones that learn how to make different generations think together.